Hey, 24 Down. Welcome to the 24 Down podcast. This is episode 29. I don't know if you can believe it or not, but we're almost up to 30 episodes. And this would probably be nothing. But Josh started it. So Josh Hatmaker, props to you, man, for starting this up. Episode 29, and we have a special guest that some of you may know, some of you may not know, but this is going to be an awesome time of getting to know Franco Martinez. Franco, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. Glad to be a part. It's been awesome to listen to a bunch of the other ones. And as the resident loner of 24, I'm excited to share my story.
Yeah, man. I'm going to tell you, man, we were all a certain way when we were younger, you know what I mean? And I was just talking to the guys in a group chat today that we all have matured, we all have grown out of certain things that we used to do back in the day. I mean, when we look back on it now, we thought we were old and we thought we were adults, but now we know that, hey, in our 30s, we're pretty much adults now, you know what I mean? And still have a long way to go. But, when we were 18 and things like that, I was telling them that, obviously you even called yourself a loner, but
Oh
now
yeah.
I'm like, hey, I wasn't even the guy that, said, hey, let's go talk, let's go hang out somewhere. You were the guy that, invited me out. So obviously you've grown in that area, but definitely, man, a lot of things, new things in your life and everything. But if you could start us off, give us kind of the years that you came into Valley Forge, kind of the years that you were on 24 down, and
hmm
kind of give us your, I guess, Valley Forge career in years. Can you kind of start
Yeah.
off there?
So fall of 2004 came with you, Buddha, and I didn't know that that was the start of the whole 24 down thing, but you know, um, as John Perez shared in his podcast, he had been in he had gone to PA for his senior year. We wound up going to Valley Forge together, so we got to be roommates for freshman year. And God bless John, because he's a neat freak and I'm not. So he had to put up with me for a whole year, but had it, it was nice to room with him. Um, 2005, I was at Valley Forge that year, but I went to the 23 apartments. And then after 2 years of Valley Forge, I needed a break, just because it was Valley Forge. And so I took a year break. I came back and I spent the rest of my, I spent 2.5 years more at Valley Forge as a part of Four Down. Um, but that was just because Four Down had singles, and I didn't want a roommate. So, so yeah. And then I left Valley Forge fall semester of 2009, but I left with 9 credits not completed on my ministry degree, and I only just completed those 9 credits in 2018. But the funny thing is, because I waited, my degree now says University of Valley Forge instead of Valley Forge Christian College. So,
That's cool,
I'll
man.
take that.
But
Yeah.
yeah, congratulations for graduating. Half of 24 down graduated, half of them didn't. But hey, we're still a family and we love each other. But I wanted to kind of get into something before you give us, after kind of going, from Valley Forge. But you lived in 23. That was for about a year,
hmm
and then you lived in four down.
Yeah.
Did you know Christmas? Do you remember Chris
Oh
Morant?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Did you live in the same apartment as him or no? Because I knew he lived over there for a little while.
No, no,
Okay.
he wasn't in mine. No.
All right. Yeah, I'm just
Yeah,
asking because he's a pastor in New Jersey now, and he's like blowing it up. It's really
yeah,
cool. He started like this Boxes of Hope thing that we're doing as well.
yeah.
And then I just want to know what was the culture of 23? What was the culture of Four Down? Or did you not feel anything there, or did you feel something there?
So yeah, just being honest, like I did not get like the social experience that college is supposed to be. Like it wasn't that for me. I mean, don't get me wrong, I had friends and stuff, but like I kept to myself. So the reason I wound up in the 23 apartments is that I struck up a friendship with Drew, and Drew got in the apartment and he was like, "Hey, I have an extra bed, like you could be in my room." And so sure, I was in his room. Um and then yeah, when it when it came to returning to Valley Forge, so I hated the lottery system. I'm just terrible with admin stuff in general, right? And so I figured out a way to job the system was because I was on the soccer team, I would just show up to school 2 weeks before everyone else for preseason. And I would literally just walk in and be like, hey, I never got a room assignment. And they'd be like, no? I'm like, yeah, no. I'd be like, oh my gosh. So I'd be like, so are there any singles available? Oh yeah, here you go. So I never did the lottery. I just got the room assignment the year that I came back. And then, yeah, the following year, I just walked in and I did the same thing again. I was able to keep my single for my last 2.5 years at Valley Forge. But like I said, I wound up on Four Down, and they kind of had their own culture thing going. But, I stuck to myself.
Was that were you there when like Miles was there and those guys?
That was before me.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Those are like our arch rivals, but it would be awesome to have them on the podcast to see what they like to say. But yeah, man, I'm gonna give you the floor again. Let us know after Valley Forge up until today.
Yeah. So I was at Valley Forge for 2 years, and ironically enough, was the furthest from God I had been, and so I needed a break. Took a break. I got a job outside of the church world because I grew up in church, and so I was like, you know what? If I'm going to dedicate my life to God and ministry, let me do something that's not God and ministry so that I can see like if this calling is real. You know what I mean? So I got a job at a hedge fund. I actually made really good progress there. They offered me this incredible job, incredible opportunity. They were going to pay for business school and everything else. But at the end of the day, I just knew that God was calling me to ministry. And so, returned to Valley Forge for 2.5 years. And then from there, I took a youth pastor job at a church in Westchester County, New York, was a youth pastor there for 4.5 years. Got to earn your stripes in ministry. You go into ministry thinking you know it all and you're going to revolutionize the church and the community and everything else. And then you realize that you yourself need just as much work as everyone that you see around you. And so, learned a lot in those 4.5 years. Like I said, earned my stripes. Definitely got beat up by ministry a bit. Where if God had not intervened at the end of my 4.5 years, I probably would have quit ministry 4.5 years in and just been done with it. But what happened was things were toxic, and basically I just said, God, listen, if it's time for me to go, this is what needs to happen. If all of this happens, I will resign on the spot. No questions asked. And within 72 hours, everything that I had laid out happened. And so I walked into my boss's office Monday morning, and because it all happened on a Sunday, and I just said, hey, man, not man. I was like, hey, pastor, I prayed and God answered my prayer. And so, I'm submitting my resignation, and it got a little ugly there, but regardless, I submitted my resignation, resigned with nothing on the horizon. Because I had told God, hey, if this happens, I'll resign. It's clear as day. So I did. And I had my youth pastor growing up. He's now a senior pastor in Connecticut. So he was still, kind of around. And so he had asked me for my resume, not for himself, but he was just like, I know other AG pastors in the area, just let me have your resume. And so I had given it to him without second thought. But 24 hours after I resigned, I got a call from another pastor at a church in Connecticut. We met for lunch the next day, 5.5-hour lunch, and I basically had the job at that point. So that led me to my next position. That was in Berlin, Connecticut, and Vernon, Connecticut. We had 2 small campuses. Youth and kids pastor there, but by the time I was there for 5.5 years, by the time I ended there, I was pretty much running like 70% of the church. Hopefully, no one from that church sees this. It was a good 5.5 years, especially because 4 years into that is when I met Jackie. And so there's this really ghetto free Christian dating website called Christian Dating for Free. Okay. ChristianDatingForFree.com. And so because it was free, I kept a profile there active, right? And it had this feature where it would list your top 10 matches geographically, like who was closest to you. And so I basically had that list like memorized. And so I would just log in from time to time to see if like anything had changed on the list to see, oh, who knew was closest. And so February 16th, 2018, I log on. I'm helping my dad clean at the church. My dad is the janitor at Harvest Time Assembly of God in Greenwich. And so I'm helping my dad clean, and all of a sudden it hits me. I'm like, oh, I haven't checked the website in like, 3-4 weeks or whatever. Cool, let me check. So I jump on and I click on the geographic thing, and there's this new person at number 1. And I took one look at her profile and I was like, man, this girl has to be new to Christian dating, because to online dating, because her pictures are way too cute. She's going to get messaged by every possible troll in the universe for posting pictures this cute. But I noticed she was in Boston, which was less than 2 hours away. Right. And so February 16, 2018, I shoot her the message. And that weekend, there was a huge nor'easter coming in. And so, I just threw something in at the end along the lines of like, hey, I hope you're ready for like this huge storm. Like, we're going to be hunkered down for a few days. And so I was totally right. Within 24 hours, she had gotten like 60, 70 messages. Like, she got a guy from like Costa Rica who had like 7 kids and wanted her to be like the stepmom. And she had proposals from India. She had like guys, all shapes, sizes, whatever, messaging her. But the one message she responded to was mine, because I had included that little thing about the nor'easter. And obviously I didn't know this, but back then Jackie like didn't watch the news at all. So she was just working, doing her thing, had no clue that we were about to get slammed with this nor'easter. And so Saturday the 17th, she messages me back and she's like, what nor'easter? And we messaged the entire day. The entire day we messaged up until we both fell asleep. We got up the next morning, started messaging again. I was like, all right, I got to go to church because I'm a pastor. I can't just message all day. And so, yeah, all that to say, February 16th of 2019, so a year after I sent her the message, we got married. And we were at CLC for about, we left November 23rd. So 9 months, 9 months of marriage. Our first 9 months of marriage were at CLC. And if I want to take any time to give any detail, it's right here, because this is the coolest part of like our testimony. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's so much more to Jackie and I's story, but so we were about 6 months into marriage. And when we first got married, we're like, oh, like we have the parsonage of the home, like 4-bedroom house, like I'm the associate pastor. It was like, yeah, we could see like a long-term future here. So about 6 months in, I forget what had happened. All I know is I came home and I was just like, are you feeling like God is saying we're not going to be here anymore? And man, it was like I had popped a balloon, because little did I know that she was like experiencing all these feelings and stuff about ministry. And like, like, thank God it was the honeymoon year of our marriage. You know what I mean? But like, the honeymoon year helped to gloss over just how busy I was at the church, and how we just didn't have time for a marriage. It was just busy, 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 busy. And she had stuff going on with her job that was keeping her busy. And so, yeah, she starts telling me all her feelings. And so we were just like, okay, God, if marriage is about 2 people becoming one, and you've been telling both of us the same thing individually, like, okay, now we're going to come to you, and it's in your hands. So if you tell us to stay, we're staying at this church. If you tell us to go, we're going. But either way, we aren't doing anything until you say so. And so that just became like the theme of our prayer life, which led to Friday, September 13th, which there's a pastor I'm a fan of. His name is John Hanna. He's a senior pastor in Chicago. An ad popped up on my Facebook on a Monday that he was going to be in Connecticut preaching that Friday night. And so that Friday night, coincidentally, there was no youth group. So I immediately texted Jackie and I was like, hey, I'm a huge fan of this guy. Like, we need to go. He's only an hour away. There's no way we're going to have this chance again. And so Jackie, of course, was like, heck yeah, let's go. So that whole week we're praying and we're just like, God, we are going to this service for you to speak clear as day as to what you want us to do next. We're either staying or we're going, but we are going to hear from you. So we prayed that all week. Wednesday night, we were praying that, and the theme of our prayer was, Lord, like, we're your servants. We're glad to be your servants, but you need to speak to your servants so that they can know what you want them to do, you know? Friday night comes. We drive the way, hour and a half down. We pray a good portion of that time down, just saying the same thing. God, we're coming to hear from you. God, we're coming to hear from you. So Friday, September 13th was 3 days before we would have been married for 7 months. So service starts. It's awesome. It's a Black gospel church. So like, I love it because that's the kind of church I went to at Valley Forge, but we're like the only white people in the service. There's 300 people there. It's me and Jackie, full house. And dude, the pastor gets up to speak. First words out of his mouth. Not a Bible verse, not a story, not a prayer. First words out of his mouth. He goes, someone came to this service tonight because your life has been in transition for the last 7 months, and the transition is about to continue in the next 4 months. It's time for you to go. And like Jackie and I just looked at each other, and I'm a crier. Jackie's not. Both of us were in hysterics. Like, we were just like, what? Like, first words out of his mouth, and it was like we had challenged God all week. Like, hey, you need to tell us clearly what you want us to do. And the first words out of this pastor's mouth are that. And so we were just like, for a second, I thought I was on Candid Camera or something, because I was like, how did this just happen, But 2 more things happened in that service. I had shared with someone that I, used to be close with, that I was looking at transitioning out of kids and youth ministry into an adult ministry position, but I didn't want to be a lead pastor. And so I shared that with them, and no joke, as soon as I finished speaking, first words out of their mouth, they look at me and they go, your resume's not good enough for that. No one's going to look at you. No one's going to hire you for adult ministry with the resume you have. And it was just like, okay, not at all what I was expecting from that person, So the pastor's preaching. He stops in mid-sentence. Mind you, the position I'm at now, I knew that they were looking for a job when I was in this service. Pastor stops mid-sentence and he goes, someone came to this service tonight. The resume you have does not match the job that you're looking at. I'm here to tell you the job is yours. You need to apply. So Jackie and I look at each other again, like, what is going on? And then the final nail in the coffin of that moment was like, he's probably like 80% through his message. He's walking up and down the aisles, packed house. He comes back to the front. He turns around. He locks eyes on me and he stops speaking. So the whole place just goes completely quiet, and me and him are just eyes locked. He walks the 10, 15 feet over to me, puts his hand on my chest. And remember, on Wednesday night, Jackie and I had prayed, we're servants, we're your servants, but we want to hear from you. This guy puts his hand on my chest and goes, Lord, your servant came tonight to hear from you. Give him the desires and intentions of his heart. And so it was just like, we challenged God, and God just spoke so clearly and so definitively. So we walk back to our car and we're like kind of quiet. So I get in the car, I put the keys in the ignition, and I don't even turn on the car. I just look and turn at her, and I'm like, so. And I love the way that Jackie put it. She just looked at me and she said, Franco, if we don't leave, we'll be the same as Jonah. That God has spoken so clearly what we need to do. There's no way that we can do anything else except what God made clear tonight. And as awesome, as awesome as that story was, just the whole transition from one church to the next is just as awesome. But that to me is a story I'm never going to forget for the rest of my life, because, as much as I'm a pastor now, for January, it'll be 11 years that I've been a pastor. When you challenge God with something, there's always that voice in the back of your mind going, is God hearing me? Is God going to come through for me? Is God listening right now? And then to show up on the one night that you challenge God, hey, I need you to speak clear as day. And God goes, oh yeah, I'm going to speak not once, not twice, 3 times specifically to you so that you can know I'm with you. I'm hearing you. I've got you. And he did, man. All the way to the cherry on top being Jackie and I were like, okay, if Bethany is the place where we're meant to be, this is the number that they're going to offer us for me to come work there. And dude, the number to the penny was what we wanted from Bethany to, know that it was like another aspect of confirmation. And so yeah, I mean, that's how Jackie and I's story started, with just miracle after miracle in terms of the way God worked us coming together. And then he's continued to provide that way in these last, we've been married 21 months now. So in those 21 months, God has just shown himself so faithful so many times. And so it honestly almost makes life a little bit easy, because we're just like, listen, every major decision we've had to make, God has just been like, here you go, And so now here we are. We're in Broadbrook, Connecticut. My church is in Agawam, and I'm the connections pastor there. So I'm helping with small groups, helping with hospitality on Sunday mornings, membership, new believers class. That's kind of all on my field to play. And January will be 11 years in full-time ministry.
Wow, man. I had on my notes here. I wanted to hear that, man, because I know we talked a couple weeks ago about it, and that was so encouraging then. It's even more encouraging now, man, because, man, I don't have to go through my day, but I already told you I was kind of pooped today,
Yeah.
and we had an event and everything and all that stuff. But like that just like brought my spirits up, because that also gets. I'm happy for you. I'm happy for Jackie. I'm happy for you guys, and like I'm happy to know that God is still speaking to his people now. And just to like think, because obviously God, it seemed like he was just that whole thing was just for you. That's what it seemed like. But obviously he did speak to other people too,
Right.
probably, right?
Right.
But it just seems like you were the only ones in the room. And that's just so awesome. And how God can, speak to us still today, through people, through the word, just even dropping thoughts in our head and stuff like that. I love that. So God is totally real. And that kind of, brings me back to when, a couple times when he spoke to me like that. And one time was, I knew at about like 15, 16, 17, I knew he wanted me to go into the ministry. And I was like, what college do you want me to go to? And so, it was between 3 colleges. One of them was Valley Forge. And so I had a summer job. I was a camp counselor, and we would watch these like historical videos. And so we just, one of the counselors took one off the shelf and put it in the VCR for the kids, and we were just watching it with them. And then each and every time, and I was praying through this, God, which college do you want me to go to? And then it was the VHS was George Washington, and I didn't even know the story about him. It was George Washington and him and his troops as they were, in a bad winter in Valley Forge. And I was like, every time it said Valley Forge, I got these really crazy chills, goosebumps, and everything. And this is summertime, and we didn't have AC, so like I'm feeling cold here. I'm getting goosebumps and everything. every single time the VHS says Valley Forge, I get those. And so I'm like, God, I'm praying through this. Are you talking to me through this crazy VHS tape of George Washington? And pretty much that's how I got the answer to go to Valley Forge. And definitely I got to meet you. I got to meet all these other guys. I'm in ministry today. There was another time too, where and you've been here. I know you've been here where you're the kids pastor, you're the youth pastor, right? And you're doing everything. Like and like there was always times where I would go to look for something where I put it and then it's not there. Like we would always just be the lowest people on the totem pole, especially children's pastors. And
Yeah.
people say, oh, we have the biggest
Oh,
job, we
yeah.
have the most important job. And so you feel unappreciated. You really do feel unappreciated. And the thing was, there was this guy that came all the way from Kenya, Africa. Okay, he was supposed to be this big prophet guy and everything. So he came, he preached, and his preaching wasn't even that great. But then he called everyone to the front, and I wasn't even supposed to be in there at that time. Like children's church just ended, so I was inside. So I went inside. I went up to the front, and then he didn't do this to everybody. There were about 50 people. We had like two campuses. This campus had a little bit of people. And he points at me, straight at me. And I just came in the room. He points straight at me and says, God sees what you're doing. You're not doing it in vain, and you are being a good servant. And I just start crying, bro, in front of like everyone. And imagine what my senior pastor was thinking, because he was seeing me like crying. He wasn't a bad guy. I just felt like I was underappreciated. You know what I mean? And like just God just speaking right to me. And then that just like revived me, knowing that, God was with me and God saw what I was doing and all that stuff. So that was like really awesome. But yeah, man, those signs and everything, bro, I love that stuff, to really know that God is still like speaking through us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man, that's awesome, bro. So yeah, man, I mean, I don't have any more follow-up questions at this time. We're gonna go straight into the questions. And I know your time at 24 Down was a little short, but it's okay. You're still part of the family, even if you were there for a couple weeks. We actually have someone. Do you remember Mike Frasinelli Fraz? Do you remember him?
Yeah.
Okay, so he actually was either part of 24 Down or part of 24 Up, and then got kicked out within the first like 5-6 weeks of school. And we're actually going to have him on the podcast. So
was he part of that big crew?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk all about that, because he's an insider. He was
Yeah,
on that thing. So I can't wait for that one, man.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that was like a big scandal, bro. Like that really like opened my eyes to like not like no one's perfect. Even though I knew no one's perfect, it just was a big revelation. Wow, no one's perfect. Not even Don Meyer.
Yeah, I've heard you guys discussing it, and in my mind, I think it was sooner than 5-6 weeks.
Maybe it was 3.
Yeah, I think it was, because I remember Dr. Meyer's opening chapel, and he was like, you guys think that you're in this place that you're just going to walk on clouds and everyone's a Christian and all the rest. And it was kind of like the first reality check, because that first chapel, of course, for all the freshmen, it's like, oh my gosh, God spoke clearly to me. You know what I mean? Like, it's that kind of like spiritual level. And then it was like a couple weeks later, like half of 24 Down, it felt like, was see you later, gone. So yeah, no, I definitely, that's definitely one of the formational memories I have of my time at Valley Forge was, if you get caught by student life, don't lie to student life, because that's when you really get in trouble. So
yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, so let's get into these questions, man. You remember Matt Bowdwin?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so Matt had one for you, because he played soccer, you played soccer, right?
No.
He says, how come you didn't play soccer your entire career at Valley Forge? We sure could have used you, because I remember you were good, bro. So why didn't you play?
Oh man. So all right, so this is one of those things where, like, I wish I could tell this story more, but because I'm a pastor, I can't. So sophomore year, preseason, our coach decides to focus on defense for the whole preseason. Like, that was it. We focused on nothing except defensive movement, blah, 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 positioning, all the rest. We get to the end of preseason, and he makes the final drill of preseason. He gives the defense 4 extra players. So I think it was like 6 versus 10. So he put 6 offensive players against 10 defensive players. And the drill was offense had to complete 10 passes. But every time that the defense would intercept the pass, the offense had to do, I forget, 10 push-ups, 10 sit-ups, something like that. But I'm like, we focused on defense. Why are you giving defense 4 extra players? So, of course, if you kept the ball longer for than like 2 seconds, there were 4 extra defenders just totally clamping down on you. So we get to pass number 9. I am standing 3 feet away, wide open from the guy who gets pass number 9. The guy looks at me, turns away, and tries to dribble through 3 players. Loses the ball, and I lost my mind. So I look at the guy, and I'm like, dude, I was wide open. Why didn't you pass the ball? Now, I've grown up playing soccer since I was 3. You could blindfold me on the field, and I'll tell you where all 10 players are. This guy looks at me. We're playing college soccer. This guy looks at me and goes, you didn't call for the ball. The way I cursed that guy out. And so the coach gets in my face. And mind you, I had no respect for the coach. The coach would literally, he would be on the field like this. Okay, put the cones here, and my dude was giving us 4th grade drills out of a book in college. I literally remember doing some of these drills in elementary school that this guy is having us do. And then another reason I lost respect for the coach is one day we were playing this team and the goalie decided to clear the ball from the sideline. So I'm 45 yards away from goal. The ball comes to me, takes 1 bounce, and I take a one-time shot from 45 yards away, and the ball sails into the empty net. So now we're up 1-0 on a – the coach starts clapping, and he goes, lucky goal, guys. It's still 0-0. It's still 0-0. And I was like, what? There is no one else on this field that would have done a one-time 45-yard shot with the goalie out of the net. So the coach gets in my face for telling the player off. Bro, me and the coach were this far away from each other. To this day, he's the worst I've ever cursed anyone out. I just told him how dumb I thought he was. Like, I was just like, how am I supposed to respect you as a coach if you got to read your drill out of a book? You know, like, we worked on defense for 2 weeks straight, and then you make the last drill offense. Like, we've never worked together on offense. How are we supposed to get – dude. So I walked off, and I quit. And, yeah, the following year I was out of school. And then when I came back, we had, like, Coach Jorge or something, and – by that point, I was already like kind of out of shape. Not that I was ever in the greatest shape, but at least my first 2 years I was in decent shape. But yeah, I couldn't play for that coach my second year. And then the other years I was there, but my heart wasn't in it because do you remember how much Valley Forge hyped that field that they built? Yeah. Oh, the laser leveled field or
Wasn't
whatever.
It kind of like it was like domed. Yeah. You could see it.
Yeah, they hyped this field so much. And then we get out there to play, and I was like, really? Like, this is what we're hyping? So the basketball team can, if we can go to Malaysia, but you can't give us a field that looks like a field. Like, if you had to take a corner, you had to, like, run up the hill to kick the ball. So just all of that combined, I have – a guy in college telling me I didn't call for the ball, And then I have a coach who's coaching us out of books.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was like, I'm sorry. My dad is a better coach than you. I
Yeah.
can't. I can't deal.
But I love how the emotion is so fresh. The memories are so fresh still, man.
Oh,
You're very
dude.
passionate about
Oh,
it.
when it comes to soccer, okay. So, I gotta throw this story in there because I've heard you guys talk about student life and stuff. And again, this is another one of those stories. I wish I could tell, but I can't. But for 24 down, I will. So sophomore year, before this, I played a little bit, but so we're playing this game, and that field was awful, like I said. And so I'm playing as a defender, and someone whips like a backwards pass to me, but like a ton of pace on it, and it bounces right in front of me, and that field was full of divots. So I'm reading the ball as if it's going to come straight to me when it bounces. Instead, it hits this divot, and it goes like past me where a forward is waiting. So I have to like haul to catch up to this player, and I take him down. I was like 40 yards away from goal, so I knew it wasn't going to be a red card. So I totally clatter this dude, and I just walk away because I knew I was getting a yellow card. But as I'm walking away, the foul was like kind of close to the sideline. So the assistant ref starts mouthing off to me, and he's like, "Oh, that's not the way to play the game. You need to respect the game." And so I let him know exactly what I thought of him, right? And so bleeps left and right. I had no idea Dr. Meyer was on the sideline. So he just listened to a Valley Forge player curse the living daylights out of this assistant ref, right? And so I think it was like the following week or something, I get called into a meeting with Dr. Mortensen, right?
He's a
So I
favorite on
show
this
up.
podcast. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. No, I wish I had this moment on video, man. So he calls me into his office, and you guys know how he is. He's sitting back. He's got his long legs folded. He's got his hands, and he just starts talking. And he starts talking about the conduct of a Christian. And, we're a Christian at all times. Doesn't matter what we're doing or when we're doing it. We're a Christian this, Christian that, blah, blah, blah. Conduct needs to be becoming of a Christian. And all of a sudden I realize where he's going with this. Now, mind you, freshman year, I got in a lot of trouble. So Dr. Mortensen knew me, right? So now here we are sophomore year, and I'm back in his office, right? So I'm averaging once per semester being in his office in my first 3 semesters, right? So all of a sudden I realize where he's going. And no joke, I sit up in my seat, I lean on his desk, I interrupt him, and I go, Dr. Mortensen, there's no such thing as Christian soccer. There's men's soccer and there's women's soccer, and I play men's soccer. And I just sat there looking at him. Dr. Mortensen is looking at me, and dude, his jaws are clenching. Like, you see the muscles moving in his face. My guy was silent for easily 10, 15 seconds. He takes a deep breath, and he looks at me, and he goes, I have never had a student get under my skin the way that you do. Please get out of my office.
Wow. Wow.
So I don't remember getting punished or anything. I don't remember, I don't think there was any consequence. I think I just ticked him off so bad. He just kicked me out of his office. And I honestly don't think I ever crossed paths with him again after that moment. But I will never forget watching this guy's jaws clench and unclench.
Wow,
because
man.
I had the audacity to interrupt him and say, I don't play Christian soccer. Oh, man.
Bro, you don't know how many close friends you're making right now by telling stories.
I can tell.
Even though I've never been in student life, there are so many 24 downers, especially Josh Hotmaker, the co-founder, the founder of this podcast. Have you listened to his yet? You have to find
I did.
Josh.
I did.
Okay, yeah. Pretty crazy.
Yes,
pretty crazy,
very,
right? Yeah.
very.
So obviously, bro, if you guys ever met, oh my gosh, I don't know, like Oh my goodness, I can't even like guess what kind of things you guys would have done. But yeah,
Uh,
man, yeah, because he
so
obviously got under, Don Meyer's skin, under Morton's skin, and everything like that.
yeah.
Like Talesha and our RAs were the only people that were actually on our side. You know what I mean?
Mm,
So,
yeah.
but yeah, awesome stories, man. So, do you remember Wolfie, Carl Wolf?
I remember the name.
Yeah.
Can't remember her
So
face.
yeah, he has a couple of questions for you. He says, "What's the craziest thing you can recall during your Valley Forge time of Valley Forge? Craziest thing."
Craziest thing at Valley Forge. Um, nah, man. I was uh, the only thing that's popping into my mind is freshman. I think it was freshman year. Sarah Reed and I used to hang out a bunch. Maiden name was Goosey.
Yeah.
But we were at the diner down the street, and we were having like a late night study session, and we're sitting there studying, and all of a sudden the police flood in, and apparently there was a standoff going on outside, and so they had to keep us inside the diner while whatever was happening outside was going on. But it was like the loudspeaker, the diner owner, whatever. Obviously, I don't know what happened because I had to stay inside, but like it was super late. We're like winding down, getting ready to like head back or whatever. And then all of a sudden we're stuck in this diner because the police are,
Wow.
confronting someone. Um, but in terms of on campus, yeah, I got nothing.
That's cool, man. No,
Yeah.
but so were you guys just hanging out? Were you guys a thing at all, or
Oh,
like?
no, no, no. We were just friends. We were
Okay,
just
cool, cool.
friends. Yeah,
Yeah,
no.
she's with Donovan now,
Yeah,
and they're
yeah.
pastoring out
Her and
somewhere.
Donovan are killing it in Ohio.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, he has another question for you. He says he was asking if you're a pastor, and I told him you are.
Hmm.
And he asked, how has COVID affected your ministry, and how do you balance living safely and caring for the health of others, but also living faithfully and not controlled by fear? So how has
Yeah, so
COVID affected?
that's definitely. I mean, all pastors are walking that line, but for me, what made it even more unique is that I got to Bethany November, and so 3 months later, we're completely shut down. So I get to this church of 750 people, where I'm the connections pastor. So I'm supposed to be connecting with people, and then all of a sudden, March 8th comes, and we get shut down. But not only that, Bethany is also unique that we have a significant portion of our population is older adults, like 55, 60 plus. So we're talking about the greatest at-risk community in this COVID thing, and so yeah, it's made the developing of relationships move a lot slower than I would have liked. But yeah, I mean, so it's led to a lot of like virtual connection and stuff. But again, that hasn't been like a super popular thing. And quite honestly, if we make it to Christmas and we're not shut down again, I will be surprised.
Yeah,
Um,
I just
because
we just closed for this weekend,
yeah,
and I'm saying, hey, I'm not opening up until spring 2021.
mm. Yeah, I
Andy,
saw that. That's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah, Andy Stanley, like something came out with him around the time that we were about to open, like the end of September, early October, and he said, "Yeah, we're not opening up until 2021." We told everyone that, and that sounded crazy back then because
Right.
all churches were opening up in the summer,
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
fall.
yeah.
And so we were like, yeah, I think we can do it. We got this whole plan together and everything. And yeah, it was good. Everyone was safe. There was no COVID outbreak, nothing like that.
Mm-hmm.
However, not everyone is ready to go out to church again, man.
Correct.
Even if they're saying they are, they're probably
Correct.
not. And we have a small congregation of 100 to 150, and we were getting about 15 to maybe 50 coming
Wow.
out on Sundays, and
Yeah.
it's not the same. It's like hollow. It's a really weird feeling. So I'm kind of glad that we're going back to being closed and doing everything online, because I don't know. I just want everyone to be safe, and I'm going to be out there anyway. You know what I mean? But we
Yeah,
still
yeah,
have a
yeah.
lot of other ministries that are going out and helping people and relieving people and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, you started at the church, and yeah, pretty much your first year at a church, you're getting to know people, and you're kind of like gaining their trust and everything. No matter what pastor you are, staff pastor or lead
Right.
pastor, and so that's a weird thing for something like that to happen. But it's our new normal, they say, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. Yeah, and then he asked this to every one of our guests. He says, if you could have a building at Valley
Oh.
Forge named after you, besides 24, what would it be? It would be that crappy soccer field, wouldn't it?
um, yeah, the crappy soccer field. Yeah, I forget if it was freshman year or sophomore year. I think it was freshman year. By spring semester, I had developed the reputation that if you saw me and I wasn't in class or in the cafeteria, it was like a holy crap, why aren't you in your room type moment, because that's just the type of guy that I was. So, you know, I can't really say that there's a building that I spent time in or something, because I was just, if it wasn't, and I wasn't the best at going to class either. But yeah, again, the whole loner thing, which if I could go back, I would totally change the way I approached college on a social level. But that does remind me of something I wanted to share about chapel. So first semester of freshman year, apparently, I don't know what happened. I was unaware that there was a dress code for chapel. So I was in my soccer sweats all the time.
I remember that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
picture you in your soccer getup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and like, no one ever said anything to me about it. I don't know if that was the whole loner thing working for me, but no one said anything. So second semester comes, and I forget if it was like the first day of chapel or whatever, but second semester comes, I show up to chapel, and what were those people called? The people who were like by the scanners or whatever.
Maybe greeters. I don't know. I don't know what they called them.
Like they kind of helped to prevent scan and scram as best as they
Yeah.
could or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
This one girl that I didn't know just shouted me out in front of everyone. And I was just like, I've been coming like this like all the time. So like, what are you talking about? And she got all uppity because I was attacking her authority or something. And so, yeah, I had to go back and get changed. And I wasn't a scan and scrammer, but I did figure out how to beat the system when it came to chapel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what I did was I got my cousin who was, he was going to med school in Philly. I told my cousin that I had submitted a work form to chapel, the RD office, whatever, and that I had a part-time job. And so if he ever got a call that I was a paper pusher in his doctor's office, like helping him out or whatever. And so, no joke, it was so casual. I forget who the RD was. I remember I had Reggie for 1 year, and then I think I had Brian Cole for another year. But dude, it was so casual that whenever I would bump into them, I'd just be like, oh, hey man, I was at work again. So, if I get a chapel absence, that's why. They never called my cousin, and I never went to chapel.
Wow.
So I would schedule all my classes for after chapel so that I could stay up as late as I wanted. And then I had no reason to get up and go to chapel because I had a job.
Yeah. Wow, man. Dude, you strike me as a different guy today. Would you say that you kind of grew out of that or what?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did.
Because bro, I gotta share this story because I shared it with you a couple weeks ago. So the Franco I knew in Valley Forge and the Franco now that I know now that we've kind of been meeting and talking and everything, very different, stark differences. You know what I mean? But the funny thing is, but between Valley Forge and now, I thought I would see you at like New York events, okay, New York district events, Assemblies of God. And I thought you were part of this like pastoral team. And the guy, actually, you look a lot better than this guy. I don't know why I thought this was you, but like I would think that, that's Franco. I'm going to go say hi to him. So I'll be like, why is he not like even like looking my way? Or why is he like, when I look at him, he looks somewhere else? Because you got really cool eyes, I remember. And so this guy had cool eyes too, but he didn't, look exactly like you. And I'm like, why isn't Franco saying hi to me? Like, what's up with him? Is he just like forgetting forgetting me? Is he forgetting like Valley Forge and all that stuff? Is he forgetting when I took him home to New Rochelle and
Yeah,
dropped him off in Cross County and stuff and everything?
that's right.
Like, this is ridiculous, bro. And so finally, like, I told you about it. And this guy, I actually said, "What's up, Franco?" one time, and he just walked away from me. And so I'm so happy that wasn't you and you weren't that mean to me. So
No,
that
definitely
was going
not.
through my head a couple of weeks ago when I was going to drive. I was like, I hope that's not him. And I'm glad I like brought that up.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, it definitely wasn't me. But I do want to say, definitely remember you hooking me up with rides, riding back with you and Joy together. That was so appreciated. Um, let's see, John as a roommate. I mean, um, you two cracked me up when John was like, "Yeah, no one really pranked me because," and then he takes like this pause, and he's like, "Well, Franco was my roommate." Oh, I lost it. I lost it because it's true. I wasn't into all that guy stuff, double deuce or whatever. Like all that stuff was disgusting to me. Like was just like, please leave me out of it. And then I have a very vague memory. I think Tim wanted to try and do a prank, and I opened the door, and I was kind of like,
Probably.
and Tim was trying to explain it, and I was just kind of like, Tim and John had their friendship developing,
Mhm.
you know, and I was just kind of like, yeah, no, like, no, that that's
Yeah,
not gonna
man.
happen, like.
And you're right. You were either usually in your room or we kind of didn't see you much at all. And like obviously you went to the bathroom and obviously you took showers, but I don't remember ever seeing you in the bathroom. You were just in and out. You didn't want
Heck,
anything to do with all the craziness that was going on. But
yeah.
yeah, man. But I could definitely see like a big difference in you, man. Now,
Oh yeah.
you are more open, and just for you to say, "Hey, let's get together," because that was awesome because you're probably one of the people that is a little more closer to me than the other, people that went to
Mm,
Valley Forge. So that was awesome, man. Yeah.
yeah.
So
And
definitely.
let me also say this about Tim that Tim and his mom were there for me in a tough time. Spring semester, I got suspended for the second time of freshman year, and my mom was so ticked at me. She was like, "Okay," she was like, "You're suspended, but you're not coming home. So, do you have money for a hotel?" No, of course I didn't. And I think, I obviously we knew that Tim was local, and yeah, man, that was tough because here I am, like not a friendly guy or whatever. Well, no, more of like I kept to myself. Not that
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah.
friendly, but like, all of a sudden I'm in this pinch, and I just like I had to talk to Tim, and
Hmm.
Tim was like, "Oh yeah, yeah," like no, and like they just came through for me like big time there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And his mom was just like, she was like my counselor for the week, like
Oh,
just
that's
asking
nice.
like all these questions and stuff and trying to get me to talk and like confront like what I was dealing with and everything else. And so, you know, Tim, yeah. And I had forgotten that Tim was Mr. DDR or whatever. So when I heard that in one of the podcasts, I died laughing because, yeah, it gave me memories of standing in his doorway, watching him go off doing his thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, shout out to Tim for that because
Yeah.
without that, I would have been in a world of hurt if I had to go home.
Yeah, man.
So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
He was always a hospitable guy. His mom also. I think I was at their house like many, many times. Even just coming over
Mm,
real quick so like Tim could get something or something. She was always just like, "Oh, hi, Buddha," and everything. And
yeah.
like they had that kind of, I guess, Philadelphia kind of row home kind of thing where, they had half the house. So they had like 4 floors, but it was like kind of like, very small, you know what I mean? But yeah, yeah, cool people, man. So do you remember a guy named by the name of Josh Lee? He was one of our Korean brothers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So he has a question for you. He said, if you could go back to Valley Forge days and you could do one thing differently, what would it be?
Um, yeah, I'd be more engaging with people, for sure. I remember freshman year, I developed a reputation because I would intentionally choose the table in the back corner. So like you'd walk into the cafeteria, I always sat on the right side, and I would always just walk straight to the back and sit at the back table. And so I came to find this out after, but here's John, he's making friends left and right and everything else. And you know, uh I guess his friends were kind of like, yo, what's the deal with your roommate? Like, who does that? Who comes to college and like sits at the table by themselves? And John's like, oh yeah, that's Franco, like he's cool, whatever, and like, so New Yorker or whatever. John had already been in Pennsylvania for a year, so I mean he's still a New Yorker at heart, but he'd already been in Pennsylvania and acclimated a bit. So here I am at Valley Forge, and I'm like, dude, all of you have accents. I don't have an accent. You have an accent, but yeah, I apparently developed a reputation because I would intentionally sit by myself at lunch. And then, but thankfully, honestly, man, I got to talk about John because John is just, I'm proud of that guy. I grew up with 3 sisters, no brothers, but John and his family came to the States, and me and him like grew up together, and yeah, just to look, our friendship is going on 30 years this year. I've known that guy for 30 years, and so childhood together, high school together, college together, so when I look at him now and I see a husband, I see a father, I see a therapist, I see a, professor, it's just like, man, God is so good, and I'm so proud of him because that guy had to work for everything he has. He never had anything handed to him, and God just provided. And so, yeah, I'm just so proud to see where he is now. But he didn't say this in his, and I texted with him when I heard his podcast, but I didn't say this in our texts because me and him did prank each other. I would scare the living crap out of him. And my favorite one, he had come back from the shower and he was wrapped in his towel and I was hiding in the closet. So all the lights are off and everything. And he comes in and I come bursting out of the closet and John got so scared. Oh, man. Yeah, we used to have so much fun because, I mean, we knew each other. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, like, I had that comfort level with John. But then all of a sudden, when there's other people trying to be on that level, I was like, no, not happening.
Yeah. Because it wasn't that you were a mean guy. It was that, yes, you were a loner, but then at the same time, just your eyes, the look and just your eyes, they were just fiery, bro. And like, no one just wanted to mess with you, man. I think that's what it was. Yeah.
And it was, honestly, it was the same on 4 Down. On 4 Down, I had to tell my RA to like back off, but being honest, we had room inspection or whatever, but room inspection was usually during the week. So this guy on a Sunday afternoon when no one is around did room inspection and he fined me. And so I took the fine and I slid it under his door and I was just like, you wish, like, who does room inspection on a weekend? I'm not paying, like, plain and simple. And so this guy comes to my room to like try and be like all nice and gentle and stuff. And I just looked at him and I was like, do I have to pay? And he was like, he's trying to explain. And I just shut the door in his face, locked it. And I heard him putting the key in the door. And I was just like, if you open that door, we're going to have a serious problem. And he left.
But bro, I don't see that Franco in front of me.
I know.
That's the great thing that we all have grown up. We all have matured. So I'm happy that you're not the same as you were back, because you would have been like 24 Down podcast. No, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah. That's true.
That's funny, man.
Yeah.
So you might know this guy. Do you remember the English twins? Because they played a little bit of soccer, but I think they were kicked off or something or whatever. But yeah, Francis English, he says, who were your roommates and can you tell us something about each one?
That's simple. John Perez, I just finished talking about him. Love that guy to death. Really proud of him. Um, worked his tail off to get to where he is now. I told this to you, Buddha, but if you had asked anyone who knew me and John before college, hey, who's going to go to college and be the social butterfly, and who's going to go to college and be the loner? If less than 95% of people would have identified me as the social butterfly, I'd be surprised.
Mm-hmm.
It totally would have been, I'm going to be Mr. Out There, John is going to be Mr. Reserved. And we got to college, and it was the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Again, outside of soccer, the only reason I got to have social circles was because of the friends that John made, who were like, what's the deal with this New Yorker? Like, and they got to know me a bit. And so that was cool with John. And then my only other roommate was Andrew Norris. And my friendship started with him because he was my start team leader. And so first day of school, first day of freshman orientation, start teams are happening. And we're playing that stupid blob tag game or whatever.
Yeah.
And we're in the commons or the greens, whatever they were called. And so here's all these college freshmen playing a youth group game, which I hated youth group games growing up. So now here I am, they're all playing this game, and I literally just stood in the corner of the field with my arms folded and just stood there. And so Drew walks over to me and he's like, "Are you playing?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Do they know that you're playing?" I was like, "I don't think so." And he was like, "Do you want them to know?" And I was like, "Quite honestly, no." I was like, "Because I'm not going to play this stupid game." And so that's what started our friendship. And first day of start teams, we were like breaking for lunch. I just looked at Drew and I was like, I'm not coming back for the afternoon session because this is dumb. I'll be in my room if you need me. And so again, just plays into the whole persona I had. And yeah, the funny story with Drew, he was my roommate in 23. And 23, I didn't have a video game system, but he did. So I'm guessing at that point it was like the first Xbox, 2005. So I scrounged up money and bought FIFA 2005 because I love soccer. And so I show up and Drew takes one look at my game and he goes, "That game is not touching my system." Because he hated soccer. He thought Madden was like the end all be all. I've never, I used to play Madden, but I haven't played it in decades.
Yeah.
And so he was just like, "If you're dreaming of playing that on my system, like forget it." By the end of that semester, he was a FIFA addict, thanks to me. And I think if you asked him when's the last time he played Madden, it's probably been just as long as I haven't. So yeah, I converted him into a soccer fan, and he was the best man at my wedding. He's got 3 girls. He's got a crazy job, but he's doing well for himself. So
That's
proud
cool.
of him too.
That's cool that you stayed in touch with him. That's cool.
Oh yeah.
And then pretty much last 2 years were at 4 down and just by yourself.
Correct.
The way you wanted it to be from the beginning.
Exactly. I shared a bathroom with someone on the other side. I don't even remember who it was, but I kept to myself, Yeah, and the other thing that was different was I had a girlfriend at Villanova. So she was only, I think Villanova was 25 minutes away or 35 minutes away. And so, yeah, I basically would just finish classes and then drive over to her and spend my time there pretty much. So that also factored into me, not really developing friendships and stuff all that much at Valley Forge. But like I said, if there was one thing I would change in going back, it would be, I guess, to be honest, I was just really insecure because I was used to being in places where like I was known. And so all of a sudden I'm going to a place where I'm not known. And like, to be honest, I didn't really have social skills. So it was just like, rather than be awkward and die from insecurity and awkwardness, it was like, whatever, I'm just going to do my own thing. Like, I don't really need friends to get by was my mentality, yeah, that's why I can say, like, yeah, I'm definitely not the same guy who, I almost got into a fight in a soccer game, cursed out a ref and all that stuff. And another soccer memory I had was sophomore year. I had the girls' soccer team approaching me because they wanted me to teach them how to play dirty because I had a reputation that I could play dirty, but the refs never caught me.
I remember that
And so,
reputation. Yeah.
I
We
used
would
to.
come to see you actually when we went to see the soccer games. I remember some cold fall nights and all that stuff. We're like, yo,
Oh
watch
yeah.
Franco, watch him do these things, man. Yep.
So yeah, that was. I had forgotten about that until recently, but yeah, the girls. I forget what her name was. I want to say it was like Mora or something, but yeah, she legit approached me after a practice and she was like, "Can you give me lessons on like what you're doing?" And I was like, "Nah, I can't do that." No, but
That's funny,
yeah.
man. That's funny. This is the funny thing. I just kind of put it together, and that was that you say you were a loner in Valley Forge, and now you're the connections pastor.
Yeah.
So that's really awesome. That just
Yeah.
shows a lot. His last question for you from Francis is: now you said you didn't go to chapel, but and you didn't go to class a lot, but do you have a favorite professor or a favorite
Oh,
class?
um, Professor McLean. Um, this guy was only there for a short time, but Professor Cruel,
Hmm.
do you remember him?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I just loved the way that he preached. I thought he was awesome. I didn't really have a relationship with him. I just liked the way that just his knowledge was incredible. Um, and of course, Marino.
Hmm.
Um, you know, yeah,
Now this,
those.
I want to know if you knew this, because this was coming up in the last episode with Josh Lee, and I was kind of putting this in. We have a group chat, and so I was saying that. Do you know that Marino, he married a former like Valley Forge graduate, like that was like graduated, was in her 20s, and he was like in his 50s, and they got married, they had a kid. Did you know all that?
Are you serious?
I'm serious. Like he would be like in cancel culture today, he would be canceled. But I remember all that, man. And yeah, a lot of people were talking about it and everything. But I mean, she wasn't under 18, obviously, and she was over 22. But
Wow.
he waited till she graduated, and she wasn't even that, attractive either. She was, I'm sorry to say, but for him, I mean, that was a, game changer for him because he was an old
I
fart.
remember that he was going through something where he had to get a marriage annulled.
Mm.
I don't. That's all I remember is that he was going through like a divorce or something, and basically had to get his marriage annulled. But I didn't know any of the details. Is
Yeah.
that what Baldwin was talking about on his?
I'm not sure. I'm not
Baldwin
sure.
mentioned something about a professor messing with a student.
No, no, no. That was someone else. It was
Oh,
I don't know if it was a professor or it was actually an RD did something like that as well or something.
oh
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah. But a professor was on the computer looking at some things he shouldn't have, and Valley Forge caught him and pretty
Oh,
much kicked him out. Yeah,
oh wow.
yeah, yeah.
Huh.
So all right. So yeah, those are some good professors though. Now, your good friend John Perez has a quick question for you, and this is our last question for the day. John Perez says, "How was it having a roommate after not having one growing up?"
Yeah, so as the only boy in my family, obviously I got to have my own room, while the three sisters shared the biggest room of the house. Um, and so yeah, it was different. But honestly, it was John who had to put up with me. I didn't have to put up with John. Um, Back then, I was a heavy sleeper, so John talked about how he was Mr. Out There. I'm making friends with girls left and right and all this stuff. And for the record, when he got interested in that girl in the first semester, I was like, John, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I was all over him
Oh
about
man,
that. But
remember that? That was so crazy. Obviously, we're not going to go into detail,
no,
but
no, no,
oh
no.
my gosh, man, that
But
girl
just as
was
his best
nuts.
friend, it was like
Yeah,
I was like, dude, we didn't even make it to fall break,
I
man.
know,
Like,
I know.
but yeah, so Um, no, it was John who had to put up with me, man, because I was messy. I was like, oh, always had music playing. And remember Jibo?
Yeah, yeah.
Dude, I've tried to find that guy every which way, and I've never been able to find him. But Jibo, I remember him because I used to play my music loud, and I used to play Tower of Power, which was like this funk band with horns and stuff.
Mm,
I played it so much that Jibo knocked on my door. And remember, Jibo kept to himself. Jibo wasn't like social and whatnot.
mm.
But Jibo came and knocked on my door and he was like, dude, I need to know who you're listening to. And I actually gave him my CD because I was so stoked that he liked the same music.
Wow, that's funny,
But
man.
yeah, there was one part of a song that was just like super catchy with the horns and stuff. And
Yeah.
so Jibo came and he was like, I need this song. Like I need to listen because you've got it stuck in my head and now I need to listen to it. So
Bro, like I remember the name Jibo, but I can't put a face to his name though. I can't remember where he lived.
he lived right next door to me and John.
Wow. And you
Yeah.
guys, so if you went in the in 24 down, if you went in the glass doors, right, where
Right.
the RA room, you guys lived to the right, correct? On the
To the
right side of
right,
the wall?
and we were the third door down, I think,
Okay.
second or
Yeah.
third
Yeah,
door
second
down.
probably, yeah.
Yeah.
And then he was next to you. He was the
And he
first
was next
door?
to me. No, he
Yeah.
was to the right.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Um, and so yeah, that's another memory I've been fond of because yeah, I didn't realize how much I was playing that music, and he came and he was like, "All right, I need to know so that I can listen on my own."
That's funny, man. But yeah, thank God, John, he was an easygoing guy, very
Oh,
forgiving, very gracious.
yes,
And
very.
I'm remembering something. Maybe it's a false memory. You can tell me. I remember like one or two times I would hear you arguing with him, being like, "Yo, why you always got to go out and stuff? Why can't you just stay here and just just hang here at the room?" Did you ever have like conversations like that with him?
My memory is terrible, so that doesn't come to mind.
Yeah,
I don't see myself as the clingy type.
yeah,
So
yeah,
John, if I ever did that, I'm sorry because that's just crazy. But yeah, no, I don't recall that
yeah, yeah, yeah.
happening. I
No,
might have reamed him out for the girl stuff
yeah, yeah,
for
probably.
thinking that he was moving too fast, but I don't think it was like a John, I need to spend time with you type
Yeah,
thing,
man.
you know.
But man, like relationships at the Forge on campus just went so
Oh,
fast. Like a
man.
day was like a week was like a couple months. Like you got to know
Yeah,
people really, really quick. And yeah, man, yeah, it was crazy. You'd be
it
going like
was.
within a month, you're going home meeting the parents,
Oh, it
crazy. And we were
was.
just like 18 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I stayed away from the girls because
Well,
not
you were locked
because
down.
yeah, I was locked down, but also I was a shy person as well. I might have
Really?
yeah, I was
You were not shy,
listen,
Buddha.
bro, I was praying to God that God would send me one person to be my friend at Valley Forge before I went because I was so scared because of the social aspect. And, thank God I got a bunch of awesome, friends and everything through 24. But I really kept my distance with the girls, not because I couldn't control myself, but because I didn't want to get in a situation because I was such a nice guy that I would let something maybe happen to me that I didn't want to happen, but I didn't want to hurt their
Mm,
feelings. So I was like, you know what? Because I'm the nice guy, I don't want to get into anything. And there was actually a girl that was very interested in me in my freshman year. She wasn't even that pretty, okay? And she would come to like 24 down. She would knock on my window, okay, or ask someone to, oh, can you get Buddha, please? And I'll be like, yo, there's a girl over there for you. I was like, what? And so it was like raining, pouring rain outside. You know how like, Valley Forge would get like the puddles everywhere and stuff when it rained. And
mhm.
so like she was like, oh, do you want to go for a walk in the rain? And I'm like, what is going on?
What?
Number one, I have a girlfriend. Number two, and she knows it because she took me to
Oh.
see her one time. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. And then number two, it's raining outside and I don't want to go in the rain. But guess what? Because I'm the nice guy and I didn't want to hurt her feelings, I went for a walk in the rain with her. No umbrellas, no nothing, and we got soaked. And after that, I just really I ignored her because I was like, this is really weird. Why does
Yeah,
she want
that's
to do this
weird.
stuff? Yeah. So But yeah, man.
Mm.
So yeah, this has been an awesome, podcast. I want to know, is there anything else you wanna bring up before we kind
Let's
of close it
see.
out?
Um, um, no, I'd say that's yeah, I'm pretty sure that's all. I covered my student life struggles. I'll never forget, me and Talesha got off on the wrong foot because it was like the first week of school, and I had my window open and I was listening to Chris Rock, and so I had the volume up,
Mhm.
and so obviously I didn't see him walking by because when you walk by, you were under the window, but his voice is so distinctive, and so I'm in my room, and all of a sudden I hear a voice coming in the window. Is that Chris Rock? And I was like, I realized it was Talesha.
Oh.
Um, and now I wish I could like transport back then so that I could be like, how do you know it's Chris Rock? But
Right.
yeah, he caught me, and that's what started us off on the wrong foot. And then I wound up getting in trouble first semester and second semester, and so yeah, just
Yeah.
never bounced back from that with Talesha. But
Yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, the cool thing about Talesha was that, he actually was on a podcast. I'm not sure if you heard that one yet, but he was on, and pretty much he had a struggle with, he was struggling between, all the rules of the school and things like that, and how the other RDs and how even, Mortensen and Don Meyer, how they were running things. He thought there needed to be more grace and mercy, but it was just justice. Things had to be set right, and we had to be righteous, and there was a
mm,
certain way that Valley Forgers had to act. So he was struggling between those, and he couldn't do it anymore. He only did it for a couple years, and then he worked at the library, and then he left after that, because he
mm,
just couldn't do it anymore. He didn't like his job. He didn't like
mm,
doing it. He loved us, and he loved the people that he was working, with, as students, but the other people, his coworkers, he didn't really like it, and they didn't like him
oh
because of that.
really?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
no. So yeah, getting in trouble at Valley Forge definitely impacted me when it came to grace. That's part of the reason that after 2 years, I was honestly just like, God, you're a joke. Like, no way. Like, I'm not going into ministry. Like, other people have gotten in trouble along the same lines that I did, but one phone call takes that away, or one I'm sorry, but they throw the book at me, you know. And yeah, it really impacted my understanding of law and grace. How can you 18 years old? I'm not trying to excuse myself for age or anything else, but like, come on, an 18-year-old, like, especially a sheltered 18-year-old who's getting to have independence for the first time, there's gonna be some mistakes made. You know what I mean? And it felt like grace was in short supply. And then not only that, um, if I wanted to be savage, would I do Valley Forge again? No. I do not think the student loan debt I am in is worth prepared me to go into ministry. I would have rather had a pastor say, hey, why don't you sit under me, take some online courses, but sit under me, watch how I do things, learn how a church works. I'd rather have done that and gotten beat up 20 times worse than being in the debt that I am with student loans, because I don't think Valley Forge prepared us. And listening to the other podcasts, because I was a loner, obviously I didn't know stuff that was going on at school. So like, you should have seen my face when I heard Matt Bowdwin start talking, and he's saying stuff about a professor and whatever. And I was just like, what? Because the way that I was treated was like, oh, this institution is perfect and you need to be perfect and blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, really? That's what's happening? And then, my heart broke hearing how it's not coming back to me clearly, but hearing that interaction that Hatmaker had with Dr. Meyer, that was like super, like, just awkward, mean, whatever you want to label it.
yeah, man. I can't believe that
Just,
Dr. Meyer did something like that. Like when I heard that story, I used to
yeah.
hold him in high regard. Actually, I actually had a picture of him in my like youth group, like when I was a youth pastor in my
Mm,
youth office. Okay, just it was just a
yeah.
funny thing. Like he was watching over me, you know. And after I heard that story, I was like, wow, I can't believe that he would do something like that. Like that, so
Yeah.
self
And
righteous, you
so
know.
like, yeah. And so it's like you pile on an 18-year-old and a 19-year-old that's just starting to find their way, that thinks that they're called into ministry, one of the most intense callings that there is, and you pile on them that way. And don't get me wrong, there is a filtering process. There is all of that. But at the same time, it really impacted my understanding of grace and law and like the balance between the two. And, my first 6 years in ministry were rough, super rough. Um, uh, and I think it was just because of the lack of preparation, along with the way that uh, I got treated. Was just like, "I- is that the way that I should treat others when they mess up? Is that like, do I throw them in the fire when they, like, it didn't promote healthiness in me
Mhm.
at all. And so yeah, but I can't resist. I hope you don't mind, but with this talking about grace and stuff,
No, I
like,
was gonna say let's go
um,
right in it. This is a
yeah.
great transition into that.
So because of Valley Forge, because of experiences in ministry and stuff, I'm at the point of submitting a manuscript now to publishers of a book titled Encountering Grace, and um, it's been an encounter that's transformed my life, and it continues to transform my life. Um, you know, when it comes to Jackie, I call Jackie my daily encounter with grace, of just God reminding me that He gives me things that I don't deserve. Um, and that's what, you know, grace is. He doesn't give us what we do deserve, but grace is giving us what we don't deserve. And um, through my first 10 years in ministry, grace has just been a continual lesson over and over and over again. Some lessons were easy. Some lessons, to be honest, I never want to talk about for the rest of my life. But God had to bring me through those lessons. Um, and so encountering grace it's really about encountering Jesus, but I like the title Encountering Grace more, especially because John 1:17 tells us grace and truth came through Christ Jesus. So that means Jesus is the embodiment of grace. That means grace is unlike any other word in our language, because grace came in human form to us, just as truth did. And when you encounter grace, when you encounter Jesus, you know, um, if I could be so honest, I understand the pain of how viewing someone you respect and then that comes crashing down. I understand the pain of how that makes you view God. I get it. I understand, God, why did you trust people who suck at living out your message? Why did you trust them with the gospel? They suck at it. They're terrible. They're terrible representations of you. And especially in these last 4 years with a certain person as president, I feel Christianity has sold out more than ever before. I feel that Christianity has done so much to damage their witness moving forward because of a stupid politician. And so, like, I get the pain and the angst that comes from that the way you view someone affects the way that you view Jesus. But here's the deep reality of encountering grace: that doesn't matter. Encountering grace is about your perception of Jesus, and understanding your perception of Jesus can only be determined by Jesus and Jesus alone. And yes, we all go through things in life that make us question, oh, why do bad things happen to good people? Why did this happen to my grandma? Why did this? Why did that? Stuff happens to us, or maybe we even do stuff to other people that has that effect. But in these, my college experience and then almost 11 years of being in ministry, I realize people let other people and other circumstances determine how they see Jesus, when the reality is, if we would just encounter grace first, then we could see everything through Jesus, and that would totally change the way we see things. And not only does it change the way we see things, it would then change the way we react to them. But that's the thing about being human, is we're going to see it in an I, me-shaped way. And Jesus comes to shatter that. And so that's what this book is all about. In all honesty, it's born out of two sermons that I preached, the rich young ruler and the woman at the well. But what I noticed in those two stories is that Jesus was entirely similar in how he treated both of them, and yet both of them had a different reaction to Jesus. So if Jesus was the same in how he interacted with them, and they both had opposing reactions, that means it's not Jesus that's causing the opposing reactions. It means there's something that person brought into their encounter with Jesus that ultimately led to them reacting the way that they did. And so my book, Encountering Grace, is about breaking that down. It's about pointing out, what are the obstructions in seeing Jesus clearly that prevents us from receiving everything that Jesus has for us? And so for me, my heart's dream and desire is that Encountering Grace would open the door for me to become an evangelist that would strictly focus on introducing people to Jesus and just saying, here's how you should see Jesus, but here's all the junk that gets in the way of how we can see Jesus clearly. And until you can recognize all the junk that affects the way you perceive Jesus, you're going to struggle to receive from Jesus, because your perception isn't what it should be. But when your perception of Jesus is full, your reception from Jesus will be full. So I know I just got on my preaching soapbox and stuff, but it's been a message on my heart for 7 years. And
Bro.
now that I'm at the point of like submitting it to publishers and stuff, and just being patient and trusting God with this. This message is alive in my heart more than ever. And so I'm not trying to preach to anyone here or anything, but I heard so much pain in listening to some of these podcasts, and I get it. I don't fault you for that. You're human. That's totally a normal experience. But the biggest heartbreak for me is when pain paralyzes us, or pain permanently affects the way that we view Jesus, when the truth is we would never accept someone judging us because they knew someone else who knew us, who had nothing but bad things to say about us or anything else. We would say, all right, if they're just going to go based off of this impression through that person, they never really got to know me. They, they can't, their reasons for rejecting me or anything else really are faulty, because it wasn't a direct experience. You know what I mean? And so obviously I get into all that in the book. I'm not trying to preach here. I just want you guys, just wanted to share that my heart was understanding the pain, because I've been there, because of student life threw the book at me. Second semester, I had to write a 10-page letter to keep my place at Valley Forge, to prove I was whatever their stupid slogan was, preparing leaders for students
in the world.
Yeah, church in the world, and all that stuff. I had to write a 10-page letter of why I'm still worthy of, being a student, to be invested in and poured into like that. So when you're made to feel this small, like, oh, you don't belong at our institution. And then thank God I only heard about this scandalous stuff 15 years removed from college, because that would have harmed me even more back then, but like, I get it. I get the pain. But at the same time, I feel like Encountering Grace has a message of that just challenges people to see through the junk that could be affecting the way they see Jesus. And that if they see Jesus clearly, I firmly believe if someone sees Jesus clearly, they won't want to miss what Jesus has for them.
Awesome, man. I gotta say, man, you had your preacher voice on, bro. You
I
had your
did.
preacher
I
voice,
did.
and that was awesome, though, bro. And and if you guys want to hear this guy preach, man, you gotta look for him up on Facebook. Franco Martinez. Really, hit him up, befriend him. Also, like, you put out some like preaching clips, maybe a couple months ago. I don't know when it was, but yeah, I took a look at it, bro. If you close your eyes, you're thinking you're like listening to like a black preacher, sometimes. So it's
Yeah.
really awesome. He's a great preacher.
Mm.
He's an author now. And so, yeah, I can't wait for the book to come out. I actually, even if the book is not out yet, I'll have you come back again. But in January, you're planning
Yeah.
to preach at my church, man.
Yeah,
And
man.
I
I'm
would love to
excited.
have that, a couple times a year. That would be awesome, man. And yeah, I mean, like, this podcast, yes, it's a lot of fun.
It
It's a
is.
lot of fun to think back and to see where people are now and stuff, and to joke around and stuff. But also, it's about this too. It's about finally not necessarily maybe coming back to the church, because I know that a lot of people, they've been hurt by the
Mm-hmm.
church, they've been
Yep.
hurt by
Yeah.
the school and stuff, but it's coming back to Jesus and experiencing his grace. And I think that's what 24 downers and a lot of people that have been through church and Valley Forge need to experience, instead of just the justice and the law, because we don't live in the Old Testament anymore. A
Right.
lot of old time, old school people in my church, they think they live in the Old Testament. No, we don't live in the Old Testament anymore.
Right.
It is about grace. It is about love. It is about mercy. Yes, God is still just. I understand that. But while we're here on this earth, man, we get a lot of chances, thank God. And but we do need to live for God. So I'm hoping that the 24 downers listening to this as well, because Josh Lee said this last week. Last week was a good episode too. But this one is amazing, because, we're hitting on it where we need to experience, Jesus and his grace. And that's exactly what we need. So I love that you said that. I love that you wrote this book. And I've been listening. When I buy books now, I kind of get the audio version. I'm going to get the
Mm.
real version when I get yours, man.
Awesome.
So, but yeah, I'm going to give you the last word, but first I'm going to do our podcast plugs at this time. If you want to get a hold of us, you can get us on Twitter at 24 down podcast, email 24 down podcast at gmail.com. We have 2 Facebook pages. It's the 24 down page, but also the 24 down podcast page. So like us on those. And then we are on YouTube at 24 down as well. You can watch these podcasts, or you can just listen. And if you don't know how to listen, like some of our awesome people, you can watch it on YouTube. And that's an inside joke, Colleen. All right. So, and then going forward, we have some amazing, amazing shirts. Now, the cool thing about Josh Hatmaker is he doesn't just do this podcast. He also just keeps on putting out these shirts. I'm wearing one right now. It's bucking Buddha. Did you ever experience bucking Buddha, Franco?
No.
Me running down the hall naked, grabbing my junk. Okay,
No.
so you probably didn't miss anything. Some people really liked it, but you can get bucking Buddha. You can get there. I think we have somewhere around 20 shirts now or so. But Josh keeps on putting them out there. We have just regular 24 down logos and things like that. But you can go to storefrontier.com/24 down. That's storefrontier.com/24 down. So before I give you the floor to just close us out, I just want to say I'm so happy that we reconnected.
Yeah.
I am so happy about that, because man, going to see you a couple of weeks ago, a lot of things were going through my mind. Like I said, why didn't he say hi to me at all the New York, AG stuff going on? Why was he acting weird towards me? And also, is he still the loner with the fierce eyes that curses people out, right? And so what I found out was that you're not, that you have grown, that you have evolved, that you have become a better version of yourself. And I love that. And a lot of it is because you have encountered the grace of God. And I'm really happy about that. I'm happy that you're part of the 24 down family.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad to have our, friendship keep on growing. And also your wife is amazing. Your wife is awesome. You talked about your wife. I'm kind of getting to know her now too. And she's awesome, man. And like when she wants to learn about something, she goes to Google, she researches, she's doing an awesome job. Right. But yeah, man, I'm so happy about all of this. And I can't wait to hang out with you guys another time, and maybe even a part 2 on the 24 down podcast. But I'm going to give you the floor to close us out.
All right. Well, it's been an honor to be on. I'm an Enneagram number 4, which is the individualist, so that should explain a whole lot for you. I know that I wasn't the I was withdrawn and stuff, but hey, I would love to connect with you. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram. Look me up. Would love to chat. Would love to, connect. And Buddha, what you just said about grace, just reminds me the biggest truth about grace is this. Grace is so radical that it can find us no matter where we are at, but it is also radical that it says I'm too good to leave you here. There's a journey we need to go on together. That's how much I love you. And so I'm not going to say I've been over here trying to improve myself for the last 13, 14, 15 years. It's just been, especially in ministry, man, it's a cauldron. It's a press, and you learn to love people. You learn to love people even when they don't like you, even when they badmouth you and all the rest, and you still got to be Christ's love to them. It just helps refine some sharp edges. And there's other stuff in life that does that too, but that's been my experience. And as I shared, at the heart of it, it's about encountering grace, a grace that says, I love you and I'll meet you where you're at, but I've also got a place I want to take you. And that's what excites me about grace and sharing about it. So give me the grace of reconnecting if we haven't reconnected yet. Please look me up. Would love to be connected and be a part of this 24 down thing as it continues. So thank you, Buddha. It was a pleasure to be a part.
Awesome, man. That's episode 29 with Franco in the books. All right, 24 downers. Until next time, God bless.